Hello, everyone. This is Helena, and I'm so excited to welcome back Mat Shaffer to my channel today. Welcome, Matt.
Hi, Helena. So happy to be here. What's up, ladies? Say hi in the comments. Let's get this party started.
Yes, we already have some people in the chat, and just let us know if you can hear us and see us okay. If there's anything wrong with the audio or video, just keep us posted. Thank you to Riley and Addie and Seventhly 87. You guys are so welcome. We're excited to connect with you, and we're really excited about this topic in particular. We're going to be talking about deep questions you can ask a man to create and maintain an emotional connection with him, even if you're far apart right now. We got so many questions after our last live stream last week about, how do you apply some of the concepts that we teach during this time when a lot of people are apart. And oh, hello everyone, thank you so much. When you're apart, maybe you're long distance, you're not physically together, but this should really be helpful in any situation, no matter where you are in your love life. If you're single, just getting to know men, maybe you're online dating and having like virtual dates right now, or if you've been with a man for years and things have gotten kind of stagnant and boring and you're looking to spice things up. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Matt, he is a relationship empowerment and connection coach who helps women connect deeply to themselves so they can show up as who they really are and be loved for who they are in relationships. So Matt, let's jump in. What is the first thing you have to say on this topic?
Well, the first thing I have to say is that if any of y'all are looking to go deep on this, I am launching a free beta of my course, Mastery of Connection, that's reached over 4,000 women worldwide. I'm doing a free beta launch of the course, so you can be a beta tester of my course. It's a $2,000 course. We start April 13th. So we're going to be covering how to communicate and connect with men, how to understand what your beliefs are and your attachment style and all these different aspects of relationship. And this is for you as a gift, as a member of Helena's tribe. You can be a part of this beta test. It's going to be an amazing experience. So Helena, is there a link in your caption to sign up that they can check after the show?
Absolutely. Yes. Right now, if you're watching live, just close the live chat, open the description, click on the little upside down triangle next to the title of this video, and it's the first link, first line in there. Sign up. It's totally free. $2,000 course, 100% free, no strings attached. It's about a month-long course, I believe.
Month long, you get office hours with me twice a week, 25 video lessons, and you're part of an incredible community of women. I think we've already had at least a couple thousand from Helena's tribe that have come through, and they've had an incredible experiences. So we'd love to have you as part of this adventure. It's going to be the last time I do it as a beta. It's the last time I'm doing it for free.
Yes. Awesome. Yes. All right. Already, Gina, it looks like she's already signed up. Chelsea's signed up. So yes. Okay. Couldn't have come at a better time, she says. Yes, Chelsea said she just signed up, excited to start the beta test. Yes. Oh, thank you so much. Yes. I'm just struggling with my microphone getting caught in my hair as usual. I gotta get
as usual. Well, I'll take the reins then, Helena, while you get your microphone and your hair figured out. And let's talk about why questions. Let's talk about why questions are so important in relationship. So a quote that I use that I came up with is that the depth of your questions determines the quality of your relationships. And I want you to think about that. And I want you to ask yourself right now, what type of questions are you using in your relationships? Because questions are bridges of understanding. Questions are tools that we can use to really go beneath the surface with our partners, to build deeper levels of connection and understanding. Or questions are things we can use to keep ourselves apart from each other. Like if you're in a relationship or you've been in a relationship with very surface level conversation, isn't that because like for one or both of you tend to be afraid of intimacy, right? Or have some resistance around intimacy. And so you keep your relationship on the surface using questions. So are you being intentional with your questions, right? That's one important concept that I want to anchor with you guys first. And the second one that's extremely important is that your role as the feminine in relationship is if love is a symphony, right, then you are the emotional and communicative conductor of that symphony. You are the one who has the power to guide and invite the flow of dialogue and conversation and feelings in relationship. And your man, or the masculine figure in your relationship, he is the musician in the orchestra. He is the doer, right? Men are fundamentally, they're physical, right? They are doers, and men are looking for guidance. We are looking for guidance, especially when it comes to talking about our feelings, because for most men, we don't have a lot of experience in doing this, right? Like, we don't do it with other men. Men in general do not talk about their feelings with other men. So you have a unique opportunity to guide and invite a man into a space where he can step into vulnerability. And you do that mostly through the questions that you're asking him. So let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. Does this land with you? And keep putting your questions in the chat. We'll be answering them throughout, and probably most of them towards the end, right, Helena?
Yes, I was just scrolling. Whenever I'm doing this or looking at different places on the screen, I'm just scrolling through the questions. I love this. Someone is repeating what you said. The depth of your questions determines the quality of your relationships. I remember you mentioned that, Matt, during our last live stream last week, and that always stuck with me. Like, wow, I've actually never heard that before. So I think this is really important. It's a really important topic. And someone asked if these were going to be scripted. If you guys want to, type these questions in to the chat as we go through them, I can pop them up on the screen as we go, just to kind of give people a visual. So fantastic. I'm like loving all the comments and everything already. So let's jump in. Are there like categories of questions, or like different state, like you ask some questions if you're at the beginning stages versus like later on in a committed relationship? Anything you have to hear? I haven't heard any of these myself yet.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So questions, it's not necessarily a matter of stage, right? Because sometimes a new relationship will drop in and you'll become very intimate with them very quickly, right? And sometimes you can be with somebody for 5 years and feel like you've never had a really deep conversation. So rather than do it on a timeline, like, let's just look at, what the intention is. The intention is to invite a man, right? A question is an invitation, right? A question should be interpreted to be an invitation by you, because you as the conductor are inviting a man forward into vulnerability, right? So one of the greatest things you can do is to ask an open-ended question that allows him to connect with and express an emotion. Okay. So like you might, and one of the greatest ways to do that, because oftentimes a man isn't going to tell you that he's feeling something, is to look at him. And if he's like, say he's really laughing about something, just like look at him and be like, wow, you are losing your mind over there. What is it about that that's so funny to you? Why is that so funny to you? Like, ask him a question like that. Ask him a question that helps him like sort of like look at it. He's like, well, like that's funny to me, because when I was young, something like that happened to me, and so I completely relate to like what's going on with him. And then he'll start telling a story. Right. And this is the power of open-ended questions, of asking like, why does this excite you so much? Like, what is it about this that just like turns you on so much? Like, what is this about this that activates you? And these are questions that are going to get him to sort of like asking himself, why does this excite me? What is it about this that I love? Why am I obsessed with, with baseball or with MMA or like whatever my sport is? Like questions like that get a man to sort of like reflect upon himself and then get to answer you about it. It's very powerful. It's a very powerful thing. So are you asking why questions? Are you asking, what about this, do you love? Like, why is this so important to you? Like, are you asking what and why questions? Because if you're just asking yes or no questions, like, do you like that? Yes. The conversation ends right there. You're keeping it at a surface level. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah, this is great. I don't know if you can see these or not, but you're answering so many of these as you're talking. So it's great. Love always asks, how do you get to deep conversation? I think you kind of just answered that, right? Open-ended questions that can invite him to tell a story, right?
Yeah. And a fundamental principle here, I'm going to list off a bunch of principles as we're going through this, is that all men are storytellers, especially when it comes to talking about things that mean a lot to them. So if they're, say, like, because men love to feel powerful, right? Like men love to feel, you know, like when a man's in his masculine, he's in ownership of what he's passionate about and what he's into, right? So one of the greatest ways that you can ask him a question to create polarity with him and build your connection with him is to ask him, if he's into tennis, like instead of just asking him, oh, you know, tennis seems cool, who's playing? Instead of just asking him who's playing, you know, ask him, okay, so it's that guy versus that guy, who's better? Who's your favorite? Why do you like them? Questions that are inviting him to ask, to share his opinion, to demonstrate his authority. It turns me on to talk about tennis to women. If a woman that I'm dating asks me, like, if I'm watching a tennis match and she starts asking me questions about tennis, like, that makes me hot. That rings my bells, you know, and it's because it gives me a chance to demonstrate my authority and to talk about something that I'm passionate about. And when I'm talking about something that I feel passionate about, I feel good. And when I feel good and I'm talking to you and you're the one that inspired and activated that conversation, that it's like there's a little energetic transfer that happens. So if a man is talking about something that he loves and he's excited about it, and you're the one that's inviting that conversation to happen, then he's liking you. He's excited by you because you're the activating force in that conversation. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I think that's called anchoring in NLP or psychology, right? Like there's a longer term for it, but it's called anchoring for short, where if he's feeling excited and passionate when he's talking to you, it transfers, right? And so now he associates you with feeling excited and passionate. And like you said, men don't often have these deeper connected relationships with their friends or family members often. So if you can be that one kind of source of deep connection, you're going to be irreplaceable to him, right? So
yeah, you are, and he's going to feel very empowered and very in his masculine around you. And an important point to add when we're talking about stories, right, is that you want to take opportunities to ask a man a story question. You always want to, you know, like, but it's really powerful if you do it organically. That way it doesn't sound kind of scripted and hokey. So say you're like watching a show, you know, like Naked and Afraid or I Shouldn't Be Alive right now, you know, like one of those crazy survival shows, and just like turn to him midway through and be like, so when's the last time you felt naked and afraid, you know? And he might say, well, when I got audited by the IRS. He might make it a funny thing like that. Or he might say, you know, this one time I got lost in the woods and, you know, my dad wasn't with me and I don't know what the hell happened. And so then that, as he's telling the story, just look for opportunities to ask more questions. There's a huge amount of power in follow-up questions. So, oh my gosh, that must have, how did it feel? How did it feel to be lost in the woods at 10 years old? That must have been so scary. Like, what were you going through in that moment? And then, so now he's telling a story, and now he's getting to talk about feelings within the context of that story. You see what I'm saying? And so then and now you're creating, and this is one of the powerful things you can do is you can use questions to turn a conversation into an experience that the two of you are having, and you two are both living an experience that he had back in the day, and now he's taking you on that journey with him, right? And he's getting to be a leader, lead you through the journey of this story. Like, I've got some story. Like I did a solo backpacking trip of the Nepali coast a couple of years ago. And I love telling the stories. I have so many crazy stories from that trip. And if I'm with a woman, you know, who, like, we're laying in bed or we're hanging out, especially, right, we're on quarantine, right? All we got is time right now, both of us, right? So this is a perfect opportunity for you to start trading stories. Because one of the most important things about, you know, after he tells you a story, then it gives you an opportunity, right? Either he's going to ask you, you know, has anything like that ever happened to you? Or you can volunteer and be like, oh, well, it's funny, you know, wow, that you got lost when you were 10 and you went through this whole crazy experience. Because when I was 12, you know, I wandered off from my parents at Disney World and was like lost in the park all day. And it ended up being like a really wild, and see, now you've got an opportunity to then answer with a story of your own. And you two are
thinking, yeah, like what would it feel like to be asked these questions? And like, it would take it deeper, absolutely. So for everyone watching, I would encourage you to think about your own, because most likely the man's going to say, what about you? So think of your own answers to this and communicate that, right? It coming from your feminine energy, right? Or just, is there something else you wanted to say? And I wanted to get to this question too. What kind of questions can you ask to make him vulnerable? I thought that was a great one.
Yeah, one thing I want to add there is that also be very conscious of the way that you're answering these questions, because it's very important for you to recognize that you cannot expect a man to be more vulnerable or to answer questions in a deeper way than you do. Okay.
Oh, such a good point. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you said that. Yes, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, because I mean, what is one of the greatest ways? You are the conductor, right? So you're the one leading the communicative and emotional dynamics of the relationship. And one of the greatest ways that you can lead those dynamics is by example. So you cannot, and I want you to look at this, you cannot be frustrated by a man's lack of vulnerability if you are afraid of being vulnerable yourself, if you are not, like demonstrating what it means to be vulnerable, because you got to imagine from his perspective, he's looking to you for guidance. He doesn't have a lot of practice or experience at being vulnerable. And you get to set the stage and create the safe space for him to be vulnerable and for him to share this with you. So be conscious of that. And if and when he asks you a question, don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Don't show up with your walls up, because if you do that, you're communicating to him that that's the level that you want to share with him, and that's not what you're trying to establish with him. You know what I'm saying?
It's so important. Yeah. I mean, something I always say is you can only go so far with another person, to the degree to which you've gone that far with yourself, right? So if you're kind of closed off or giving one word answers or not going that deep, a man's not going to really feel safe to do that with you. It is true that as women, we kind of are the gatekeepers into some of those deeper feelings. For a man, men are more cut off from their emotions typically, generally speaking, than we are as women. So often we do have to go first and be a little more vulnerable, right? Just as, if a guy was just kind of like stone cold and not being warm and open and vulnerable with you, you wouldn't want to just be super vulnerable and tell the story about how your parents passed away when you were young or something like that, unless a man was doing that as well. So it's kind of like, go deeper together, you get more vulnerable together. But in my experience, my opinion, often the woman does have to go first. So I think that's important. Are there any specific questions you can ask a man to make him more vulnerable to answer this question here? Do you have any off the top of your head?
One thing I like to do, or one thing I invite my clients to do, right, when I'm working with them around this, and we do some of this work in the course, right, that y'all can sign up for free, is I like to ask them questions. I invite them to ask questions about their childhood, like playful, teasing questions about when they were little. Like, I bet you were a troublemaker when you were little, weren't you? Did you make your mom crazy? Confess your sins. Like, ask them a question about their childhood, get them talking about their parents, about what they got into when they were little. That's one of those sort of interesting things that not only gives them an opportunity to tell a story to you, right? To tell funny stories about what they got into when they were little, but it also helps you get a window into how they became who they are. You see? So by understanding, a little bit about a man's relationship with his mom, or what his friends were like, what his clique was when he was in school, that gives you a really powerful way to sort of understand who he is, and a way for him to be vulnerable with you without having to really talk about his feelings too much. That's a really powerful point, actually, that I want to make, is that you're kind of backdooring in vulnerability by asking a man to tell stories. Because it's not like he has to speak directly into the deep inner workings of his heart. He just thinks he's telling stories. But what he's actually doing is he's giving you a window into who he is, into what's important to him, into how he became the man that he is with you right now. So stories are sort of like a fun way to sort of create and establish intimacy with a man without him feeling like he's having to be too vulnerable with you, because sometimes that can get a man to shut down, know?
Yes, and we're going to answer these questions that you guys, posted earlier. I'm just kind of scrolling back and forth and going in an order that makes sense to me. Hopefully to you guys too. Let's see. How to make him open up and talk and be vulnerable. I'm open to him and vulnerable always. So if the woman, what would you say? Did you hear that echo, or is it just me? Might just be my.
I don't hear it. Give us a one if y'all hear an echo. I don't hear any echo on my end.
Okay, that's good. You know, when you're on the phone with someone, you hear yourself talk. That's what I'm experiencing right now.
Oh, it drives you nuts. Yeah.
But let's say a woman does this and a man still isn't opening up and being vulnerable. What would you say to women in that situation?
Well, and again, a lot of men have resistance around this, or a lot of men may have trauma around intimacy or vulnerability with women, going back to their mom. Maybe their mom was not kind to them when they were younger and didn't really foster a sense of intimacy and vulnerability with them. Or maybe they had traumatic relationships with women up until now, right? Or both. A lot of times it's both. So really, like, being compassionate towards a man if he's holding back, chances are he's got some fear. He's got some fear on there. Okay, Pre says she can hear the echo. That's unfortunate. So Pre is saying she can. Am I echoing, or is it just Elena?
It's just me, because I think when I'm talking, my voice is coming through your computer speakers, which is getting picked up by your microphone.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. I don't know how to fix that. But so what I would say, Arsenia, is to let him know, ground him with a feeling statement in how much you enjoy hearing him tell stories, right? How much you enjoy learning more about him, right? Just like, it feels so good to like hear you share funny stories. Your stories are so funny, right? Like, why tell me a funny story from your childhood? Like, I'd love to hear more about, how you became who you are today. Like, what's a big challenge that you're dealing with right now? Like, tell me what you're going through. I'd love to support you. See, like, you want to keep anchoring him in positive feeling statements and making invitations for him to be vulnerable. Because here's the thing, a lot of men resist being vulnerable because they don't feel safe being vulnerable. You see what I'm saying? And just demonstrating vulnerability yourself is a great first step. And then beyond that, you want to ask yourself, like, how can I make it safer for him? How can I let him know that if he opens up and he's vulnerable to me, that it would make me happy, right? That I'm not going to take it personally, And that's why you get to keep saying, like, I'd love to hear about the last time you went through something like that. You might have to take some initiative in this situation and really invite and evoke him to be vulnerable with you, because some men aren't going to do it on their own, even if you're being super vulnerable yourself.
Yeah, great question. Great question. Yeah, it's just when I talk, because I think my voice is coming through yours. So I'm just going to keep my talking to a minimum, which is perfect because I'm I'm sick too. So it kind of hurts to talk. And everything you're saying is so spot on. I love it. You're kind of answering a lot of these questions. I think here's a great one from Riley. How do I get him to ask more about me? That is a phenomenal question.
Okay. That is a great question. Okay, so Riley, what I'm interpreting from this question is that he talks a lot about himself. Am I picking that up right? That he talks a lot about himself. He's not asking you a lot about you because he's too busy just sort of like talking about his own stuff. It's completely understandable. It happens a lot with men. And so one of the ways that you can open up this thing is by, once he's talking, he's talking about himself, he's going down the rabbit hole on a story or telling you about something going on in his life, is for you to proactively be like, oh, that's really interesting. It's interesting that you went through that. I went through something similar back when I did it, and make a parallel to what he's saying, and share with him, sort of take the lead a little bit in the conversation and make a parallel thing of like, wow, I went through something so similar to that, where I was, in that situation, and then I felt really and make a parallel thing. And then you're basically giving him a platter. You're opening up a dialogue. You've presented something about yourself, and you're making an invitation for him through that parallel to ask you a question about it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so don't be afraid, like, because that's the thing, Riley. I mean, we would need to know a little more about what's going on, but I think a lot of women sometimes have a tendency to like to lean back as far as that, because they don't want to be forward, they don't want to be direct. But sometimes, especially when it comes to like deepening levels of conversation, the more you're able to take initiative and the more you're able to present of yourself in conversation, it's going to entice a man to want to engage with you, because just asking him, because just being like, hey, you don't ask me enough questions, you need to ask me more questions. Like, that's going to cause a dude to just to shut down, right? It's going to get his mama trauma activated, and we don't want
and it put him on the spot too, right? Like imagine somebody saying that to you. So I think that was phenomenal. I think really listening to him is important. If anyone's had that experience, I know I have, just in general, where as soon as you say something like, oh, this happened at work today, and then someone's like, oh yeah, that happened to me before, and they kind of cut you off and you don't feel heard. So make sure you're really truly listening to him and kind of being over there with him, not up in your head thinking about what's the next thing I'm going to say, or how do I get him to ask me something. Really listen, and then connect with yourself, connect with your feminine energy, or be in the moment, and then do exactly what Matt said from that place. That was great.
And the last thing I'll say about that, the last thing I want to say about that, because there's another thing you can do that just came to me, is that if you go ahead and when there's empty space, volunteer your opinion. Volunteer your opinion. Like if you guys are sitting there watching TV, and you're watching some, whatever. What's a terrible show? The Flavor of Love, or one of those like crazy love shows. What's the one where you can't see them? Love is Blind.
Yeah, I think everyone's talking. I've never seen it, but everyone's talking about that one.
Where you have to fall in love with them without seeing them. Okay, so imagine you and him are watching that show together, right? You're like Netflix and chilling, and you're just like, and you just come out and you're just like, I cannot believe these people are falling in love with someone without ever seeing them, right? Like it just volunteer like an opinion and be like, I could never fall in love with someone without actually seeing and experiencing them with my eyes. It's so important to me. And initiate a conversation with him. And then, that's going to necessitate almost him asking, oh yeah, so why is that? Why is it, I thought women were supposed to be more, we're supposed to be less visual than men. Why is that so important to you? So by you volunteering an opinion, by you volunteering a position, by you putting yourself out there, you're then giving him an opportunity to then ask you a question in response.
Love it. So good. That is so important. So important. I love that. How about this one here? Do you mind if we take some more? These are all so relevant to what we're talking about. Perfect. This is kind of why we wanted to do this. What if I met the guy, and then, everything that's going on right now with people quarantining themselves, right? Or being on lockdown, we're still talking via text, but we can't meet. How do I ask important questions via text? What are your thoughts on texting some of these versus like having, being together in real time, either on the phone or over FaceTime?
I think for important, I would hold off on anything really important right now, like in these early stage communications. Like, so you met the guy once, so you've had probably one good date. Okay. So you've already broken the barrier of seeing each other. Then why not do, video chat, FaceTime, if y'all both have, iPhones, or there's a million other apps, software. Zoom is one that a lot of people use. There's a million different ways for people to communicate and talk to each other. But I think, have virtual dates. If you really want, if you have important questions that you want to ask, for the love of God, do not ask important questions over text message in the early stages of dating. Like, that's just a slippery slope. And you don't want to set that precedent with a partner. Like, you don't want to set a precedent because remember, you're the conductor, right? You're the one creating the norms of communication and intimacy right now, right? You're the one creating the norms. So if you make it okay to have important conversations and to talk about deep and vulnerable things over text message, then a man is going to default to that as much as possible, because it's so much easier for him to just punch out a little message than for him to look you in the eyes and talk about something. That's so a big
important.
Deal,
I'm so glad you said that, because men don't really build connections over text the way some women do, right? Exactly. Can you talk a little bit about that? So it's not about texting back and forth and letting him have this kind of 24-hour free open access to you. Please I would love you as a man. I don't know your opinion on this, but I'd love to hear it. So please let us all know. In my opinion, men don't build a connection over text. So you don't want to be constantly doing that.
Well, right? I mean, some do and some don't. It's not a black and white thing.
Right.
In some of my past relationships, I have had a robust text component to them, but especially you don't want to lead with that. Exactly. You don't want that to be a big, like, you want to create and foster a base intimacy with a man through face-to-face connection. Because in the early stages of getting to know somebody, it's so easy for things to go sideways. If you're trying to get to know him over text message, that's just not going to work. Like in the early stages of dating, like once you've established a baseline intimacy, you two are dating, things are sort of established, then yeah, text more. But in the early stages of dating, I think texting is great for, just a couple different things. It's great for, brief flirting, right? Just like a little flirtatious, this and that, like passing notes in class, like, right? A little brief flirting, also for setting up follow-up dates. That's it. And the last thing is, I guess kind of similar to the first thing I said, send a funny meme, send a funny whatever. Hey, this made me think of you. Shoot a quick article, something like that. But not for having long, drawn out conversations. So what are you doing? Oh, I'm dude. No, like just because then you're letting him off the hook. Because a man will oftentimes be resistant to intimacy, and he will default. He will default into, well, cool. You mean I don't have to talk to her on the phone? All I got to do is sit here and twiddle my thumbs while I'm playing Call of Duty all day. Fantastic.
Oh, so glad you said that. Yes. So you could say, oh, it feels great hearing from you. I'm feeling a little burnt out on texting after a couple of changes. It would feel great to see your face over FaceTime, or feel amazing to hear your voice before I go to sleep sometime this evening.
You're anchoring it in a feeling statement, and lead with a joke. Be like, I'm getting thumb arthritis. Like give him a little playful tease and be like, yeah, my thumbs are officially closing up shop for the night. If you want to talk, I'd love to see your face, or just do a quick call, before I crash out here. So give him a joke and direct him and guide him into what it is that you want, and you'll have a lot better.
Great. Yeah. Kind of along those lines. What about this great question from Riley? What questions are annoying to men? That one made me laugh. I'm just curious as to your opinion. Are there certain questions that women should avoid asking, or any thoughts there?
Okay. So one thing you want to really avoid in dating, and especially in the early stages of getting to know somebody, is I want you to look back when you had job interviews. Okay. When you had interviews for jobs, and then like what it felt like to be asked in a vacuum, what is your goal? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like you don't want your questions that you're asking him to sound or feel like a job interview. Okay. Like you don't want your questions to make a guy feel like he's on a baby daddy audition. Right? Like, or that like that you're basically interviewing him to be like the potential father of your children. That is going to make a man feel that he's being looked at and perceived as a means to an end. A lot of times, like he's not being seen and experienced and appreciated for the man that he is. And for the dynamic that you're having with him. It's sort of like, so do you see yourself with a family in the next 5 years? Like I had a woman ask me that on a second date, like basically she told me I want to have kids in the next year, or like, and are you ready to have kids? And I'm like, I don't even know your last name, lady. Why are you, how can you be asking me this right now? Like, I understand that this is important to you, but going about it like that, asking questions in like a job interview type of format is can be very alienating,
or it makes the man feel like you're looking to him to just fill a role. You're not really looking to get to know him, right? And I understand not wanting to invest yourself unless the two of you are on the same page. But that's why it's important to not invest so early on, right?
Yeah.
And exactly. So so what questions are annoying to men? Interview style questions. Anything else you can think of? Any
I would say asking him questions like maybe too deep too early. Like if a man feels like you're trying to force intimacy like really early on, like asking him questions about his like I actually think you can ask questions about exes, and I think it can be a fun way to open up story time. I really think it can, because everybody's got stories about their exes, but you want to be conscious about the timing. Because if you're asking men questions that are too deep, too early, like asking about like his exes and like all this stuff on like the first couple dates, a guy's going to be like, what is she digging for right now? Like, what is she trying to get? Like, he's going to feel like he's kind of being like interrogated. Like you don't want a date to feel like a job interview. You also don't want to feel like an interrogation where you feel like a woman's trying to like dig for dirt on you and all that sort of stuff. So those are two. God, what are some other ones? That's like a really good question. It's like, is it good enough? It's good enough that I like want to think about it for a second. Like, what are
Yeah.
some other what are what you talk for a second there? Scratchy throat. I want to think about that
I know,
question for a
right?
second.
I'm like, should I get water while Matt's talking? I'm like, there's a million things going through my head right now. Yeah, I think let's see, talking, asking questions about the relationship too early on might, it really depends on where you're at. We don't know anything about your specific situation, but just constantly talking about the relationship, asking questions when you're coming from a place of lack or insecurity or anxiety, like, I don't know where I stand with him. So instead of tending to my own energy first and really getting in touch with what I want, I'm going to just lean forward and ask him a million questions coming from a place of insecurity, right?
Yeah.
It's totally fine to feel insecure and feel anxious and talk about it coming from a real centered place where you're owning those feelings. But anything that makes him feel like your questions that come when you're coming from a place of insecurity or lack often feel like pressure to a man. It makes him feel like he's just not doing something right, or whatever he does is never enough. And more importantly, in my opinion, it puts you in a position below him energetically. Like, he has something you want and he's holding on to something you want and he's not giving it to you, right? And so you don't, of course, it's okay to bring up questions about the relationship, but you don't want that to be the majority of your conversation with him, right? You want to work on building intimacy, building connection, just moment by moment. So it's kind of like creating the relationship rather than talking about or asking questions about the relationship. Did that make sense in the way I explained it, Matt?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and that it's really important to look at just as much as the words of the questions, like what Helena was just saying. What is the energy behind the questions that you're asking? Are you asking questions? Because there's two places you can be asking questions from curiosity and presence and playfulness. You can be asking questions from that energy, or you can be asking questions from fear and insecurity and scarcity and all of that stuff. And you could ask the same question, but with one or the other energy, and get a completely different response from a man.
So important.
Like,
I'm
just,
so glad. Yeah,
yeah,
so glad we brought that up. Speaking of that, here, I don't know if you have anything for that, but Mildred asked what questions to ask to get him back. Anything there? Do you deal with women who are looking to reconnect a relationship?
A little bit. I mean, usually by the time I get done working with women, or by the time they go through my course, they realize that they don't want that person back, like almost always. One last type of question that I want to say infuriates me personally, and probably a lot of other men out there, is like the obligatory BS question on the tail end of like a huge share. Like, if a woman just like dumps like a ton of stuff out, like, oh, I went through this and I did that, and then I went through that and did it, and they just dump like a huge thing on you, and then they pause for a second, and then they're like, and how are you doing? Because they feel like they have to ask something to sort of like justify the fact that they just crapped their entire life all over you. Like, that's just like a selfish sort of deflective question. So don't ask a man just like an obligatory question because you feel like you have to, because a man will pick up on that, and he won't like that. He won't feel like you're asking a question out of a sense of obligation, right? So that's another one. Okay, so Mildred, to answer your question here, what questions can I ask to get him back? So where I would start with that is, if you're with a guy and the two of you are starting to drift apart, the best kind of questions to ask before you fully break up, right? One of the best things you can do is ask him questions that reground him in the magic of what brought you together in the first place. So ask him questions that, like, if say you two have just fallen into the daily report, right? Where, you're not really going intimate with each other anymore. You're not talking about deeper things, and you feel like you're sort of drifting apart. You want to hit the reset button and be like, wasn't it fun? Like, remember our first date? Like, remember what we did on our first date where we ended up falling in that fountain and like went through all that stuff? Like, wasn't that fun? Like, what was your favorite part of our first date? And get him to sort of like reflect and reconnect with, what was really special about the connection between the two of you. And that can be a great way to sort of like get a man to reground and reset And then you can ask him like, what if we went and did that again? Wouldn't it be fun to do something like that again, or to go out and, go on like a spontaneous adventure? And ask him questions that help guide him and reground him in that early stage spark, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
In your life.
That I love that you mentioned that. It's kind of what we were just talking about, right? Rather than talking about the relationship, it's not like ask him these 3 questions and he'll want to get back together, right? It's recreating the dynamic, just like Matt said, that likely attracted him to you in the first place, creating intimacy, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, men are experiential. So men are, especially in relationship, men just want to have experiences that set them free. They want to have experiences that get them out of their head and just into a connection with another human being. Because we spend most of our lives as men in our head, just out there, just doing and creating and grinding on this hamster wheel of like whatever it is that we're creating in our life. But you, as a woman, through, the way that you guide us emotionally and communicatively, you can help guide us into a space of experience, into a space of play and fun and lightness, and really set us free. And men are craving from you more than anything. They are craving freedom more than anything.
So true. Yeah. So true. Justine, did we answer your question here? What is the easiest way to ask a man a question? This was asked earlier on, so hopefully we answered that. Do you have some kind of template or anything, Matt, or something where a woman should check in and feel where she's at before asking?
What that question brings up for me is, why is it hard to ask a man a question? What resistance do you have around asking a man a question? Is it because of a belief that you have around intimacy with a man? Is it because he has a hard time dropping in? Like, what's your resistance? And what would be a breakthrough that's available to you around that? Because truly, like, men, if you have the courage to just drop in and vulnerably and playfully and warmly ask a man a question, you will be shocked at how willing most men are to open up to you. You'll be shocked at how often most men will be happy to be honest with you about whatever it is that's going on in their life and going on in their relationships, right? But a lot of times it will take you having the initiative, right, to drop in and from a warm, inviting, feminine, safe space, ask him the question, right? And it might not be easy, but it will be worth it, even if you have resistance around it.
So true. So true. Okay, there are some unrelated questions here that I think we'll have time to get to in a little while, but I want to just stick with the questions that are just around this topic, which there's so many. So thank you guys for asking such amazing, relevant questions. What about this one? Should I ask a guy on our first date what he's looking for? And what should I answer if he asks me that question? I think we addressed this maybe a little bit earlier. I think it's totally fine to, express what you're looking for. Just I know Matt said one time on a second date, a woman was like, "When do you want to have kids?" And and so that was there's a way to do it, right? I think if a guy asks what you're looking for, I think it's totally fine to say, it would feel great to meet the love of my life and settle down and have a family one day, right? Very different than how many kids do you want? Where do you see yourself living in 5 years? Like, where it's an interviewer. So talk about it in terms of what you want for your own life, not interrogating him to try and see if you're on the same page. Because trust me, if you guys are on the same page, he's going to want to step into that space if he's truly interested and the right man for you, right? What are your thoughts on this? Should I ask a guy?
Exactly. I think it's fun to talk about the experience that you want to have in relationship. Like, what are you looking for? I'm looking for a fun, just spontaneous relationship. It's like a partnership where like we just have adventures together and we have some cool kids and we go on trips. And, I think it can be cool to drop in and share a little bit of your vision for what relationship looks like and not project it onto him. Because you guys are a long way, right, from being able to determine if that person is the person who could potentially be that way or not. So you're not putting it on him. You just be like, I'm looking for like an amazing relationship with somebody and a couple little fun kids and a couple dogs. Like, that's what I want, and I have no problem like sharing that, but I'm also not going to put it on her, like on the first couple dates. And I think that's important to really like manage expectations with the partner, and not make him feel like you're pressuring him, like you're evaluating him to be that person. Like, you guys are a long way from that, but eventually that is what it is that you want, and you're not going to like hide that, because there's nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah. Yeah. And in terms of asking on the first date, ideally that's something that he's going to want to bring up to you. But again, if you're talking about it in a way where you're just owning that desire, it's a great thing. Don't walk on eggshells and go, oh, I really want to, get married and have kids one day, and I don't want to bring that up, because like, just own it and feel good about it. And as long as you're talking about it in terms of yourself and your own life, I think it's totally fine.
Yeah.
Right?
But I would say, like, maybe save that question for like the second date, or the third date. Like, if you're meeting up for drinks and like within the first half an hour, you're asking what he's looking for, a guy's going to be like, well, I mean, someday, like, I want to, get married, but like, I don't know you yet. So like, let's like, like wait until there's some established chemistry. Wait until there's like a little bit of something brewing with this guy before, because that's a big question, especially for men, right? So I would just like give the situation some time to percolate before going down the like, what's your vision for relationship sort of like thing, or what are you looking for? Like, just give it a little time until you've got that established.
I totally agree. I think that's a great, very clear answer to that. So I think that's phenomenal. Love this question from Chelsea. She says, when I ask him questions, when do I know if I'm asking too many, and when should I back off? That's a great question about that, Matt.
Well, probably if you feel him, is it a pattern for you, Chelsea, to ask too many questions?
When you get nervous, and I can relate to that. Do you get nervous and go up in your head and feel yourself talking a lot and wanting to keep things going because you don't like those awkward pauses in conversation? I mean, most of us can relate to that. At least I know I can.
Yeah, 100%. So I think one of the things you can look for is does he look like he's starting to get tired? Does he look like he's starting to like close down? Like, was he open and answering questions and engaged, and now you felt him start to just like shut down and get exhausted? I know I've been on dates where I feel like I'm in like a legit interview, and a woman just keeps asking me questions because she's afraid of, there being some silence, and like, I'm not going to let there be silence. You know what I'm saying? But she's not giving me the opportunity. A great thing to do here would be to ask yourself in the last 10, to check in with yourself and be like, okay, in the last 10 minutes, how many questions have I asked? And how many questions has he asked? You see what I'm saying? And just sort of like be in a loop of, do we have a fairly even exchange right now? Or am I the one just like continually lobbing the ball to him, right? Or are we having an equal exchange of questions? Because I think sometimes, because we get nervous, right, about the space, about there being dead space in the conversation or whatever, we'll just sort of take command. But that's going to be depolarizing to a man if he feels like you're the one running the conversation like 100% of the time.
Yeah, he will step up. I promise. It might feel like an eternity if there's 10 seconds of silence. It might, and I totally understand that myself. But yeah, he will. I promise he will say something. He will come forward. He'll fill that space if you're not constantly trying to do that. So yeah, I think that's great. Awesome comment from Tris. I found men open up easier when you reach a pleasant and fun atmosphere first. That's kind of what we were talking about, right?
Yeah. Worry about that first. I mean, don't worry about it, but focus on that first. Focus on, coming to the date with playful, curious, fun energy, establishing rapport, building an initial connection, like before you start like diving, deep with him, right? Use questions to be playful and foster connection with him. That's one of the first powerful ways you can use questions. And it can be as simple as like, I love that sweater, Mr. Rogers. Like, where'd you pick that thing up? Like just ask him a ridiculous question about what he's wearing, or his haircut, or like sort of like a teasing, just like let him know right off the bat that like you're here to have a good time with him first and foremost, and that'll get him to start to like drop in and be like, okay, I don't have to like be, I don't have to be a certain way. I can just be myself with her.
Totally. It's amazing how a man will open up when he just feels like, oh, we're just like we're just having fun here. We're just keeping things lighthearted. Like, it's kind of counterintuitive. It's not about asking those piercing questions to get to the depths of his soul right off the bat, or just
You're not Barbara Walters.
yeah,
Or the
exactly.
To Catch a Predator, Chris
Totally.
Matthews, or whoever. Like,
Just
I love
handsome
that. That last
fun.
one you just had
Yeah.
up was somebody quoting my own concept back to me in a video.
Yes. I just wanted to put that up there to drill it into everyone's mind. Right? Get out of both of your heads first, making it safer. What about this question from Justine? If you text a guy you're dating, what's a good opening text? I think you talked about that a little bit earlier in this video. Any thoughts there?
I mean, it depends on what stage of dating that you're in, you know, like if you say you're dating, right? So you've been dating for a while, it's kind of like y'all have transitioned from in the early stages of dating. You want to be really careful about not just having an idle ongoing chat over text message. But once you get into later stages of dating, you know, a good opening text. I know, like what I've gotten into the habit of doing, like with my last girlfriend, is that we got into this thing where we would use like Bitmojis, where we would have these like fun. Have you done the Bitmojis where it's like this animated version of yourself and it's got like this fun message? Like it'll be you on like a ship, you know, and it'll be like top of the ahoy matey or whatever, just like some fun, cute thing or whatever. I mean, something that's fun, something that's cute, something that's playful, you know. A good opening text would be something as simple, or hey, I was just thinking about you, you know, winky face, like how are you feeling today? Right there, you've let him know that you're thinking about him. You've given him a little flirtatious thing, and you've asked him a question that's asking him about how he's feeling and inviting him to, you know, share a little bit about his feelings, right? So that's a great sort of way to be flirtatious and also maybe invite a little vulnerability and intimacy over text message. So, I mean, if you're dating somebody, or I had so much fun last night. I was just thinking about how much fun we had last week. You know, like, what do you got planned for me this week? You know, like ask him a little question like that goes back to an earlier date that y'all have done.
Love it. I think that's great. Yeah, and I think we have some time. We're going to get to everyone's question, even if it's not quite related to this topic. There's some really good ones in here. While I scroll up to the top, do you want to tell everyone again about Mastery of Connection? Totally free. He's offering it free for the last time. The link's in the description right now. So
absolutely. Yeah. So for all of y'all who have not gone through my course, Mastery of Connection, thousands of ladies from Helena's tribe have already done it. And I would love to bring new people on. I am doing a beta test. So it's a free trial run of my $2,000 course, Mastery of Connection. So I'm running a live course launch starting April 13th. So in a couple weeks, this will be the last time I'm offering it for free. And we're going to be like learning how to transform ourselves and connect with others and ourselves from the inside out. So it's 25 video lessons. You're going to be part of a huge group of hundreds of women on Facebook. I do office hours twice a week, and we do belief work. We do attachment style work. We go through your personality type. I've got tests and homework for all of these lessons, and values, vision, and all the aspects of how to really create the sort of life and love of your dreams. It's a transformational relationship course. I'm super proud of it, and I'm offering it to Helena's tribe as a beta tester. You get to be one of my free beta testers, and all I want from you is your testimonial and your feedback for your experience with us. So you can sign up at the link in Helena's caption there in the description, and we'd love to have you. It's a quick application, and then we'll bring you in.
Yeah, it looks like a couple people just signed up. Chelsea signed up. Tina signed up. So grateful. Couldn't have come at a better time. Yeah, I mean, this is the perfect time to work on it, especially totally free. Like, I'm so committed to offering the most high quality free. This is probably my number one recommendation for what, I mean, it's so in depth, and you can get your personal questions answered in office hours. I know a lot of people aren't comfortable just asking their questions out here on YouTube sometimes, right? So
yeah,
definitely do it in a totally, private setting. And
it's a safe space. Yeah, the group is completely closed. It's completely private, and everybody's there to support each other. And really, it's amazing the sort of community and sort of family sort of vibe that we create over the course of the month. It's an unforgettable experience. It's so much fun.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. Yes, Viv says, thank you for offering the class for free. Infinity says, love you guys. Thanks to you, I got out of the breadcrumbing guy and met the right one. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So happy.
Congratulations.
Justine's ready for a change. Thank you, Matt. Perfect. Okay. I just want to make sure we didn't miss any questions. I scrolled all the way back to the top. I think we got these. The guy lately I'm dating says he's afraid of a serious relationship, but already asked me to be his date to an official ball in September. Does that mean he's ready to be committed? I would say no, it does not. If he told you he's afraid of a relationship. Matt, what are your thoughts there?
Well, an official ball. So I hate that my mind goes here, but is he military? That's the question that might have a relevance here. So he said he's afraid of a serious relationship, but he's asked you to be his date of an official ball. Does it mean he's ready to be? It definitely doesn't mean he's ready to be committed. He needs a date, or he really wants to have a date to this ball. Yeah. You are the girl that he's dating, so it's definitely convenient for him to want to have you be the date, right? But his deeper statement supersedes that. His deeper statement of that he's afraid of a serious relationship means that that's right now the controlling statement. And since we're talking about questions, this is a great opportunity for you to ask him. So I see that you want me to come to the ball with you, and I'm delighted to go with you. But you also shared with me, that you're afraid of a serious relationship. Like, why is that? What comes up for you when you talk about, that gives you that fear? Like, I'd love to help you with that. I'd love to support you with that in any way that I can. I'd love to understand where you're coming from. You see, and ask him it from a space of curiosity, from a space of love and support, to hopefully allow him to feel safe enough to share with you what that fear is. And then you can start to unpack it.
Totally. Love it. Love it. Just want to say hi to everyone who was joining earlier. Renee, Ramona, Cindy, Jasmine says very informative. Hi, Tanisha. Just scrolling through looking for some questions. Here's one. She says, hi, everyone. Why do some guys pull away when they feel they are getting too close? Oh, wow. We could do a whole live stream just on that, I'm sure. Do you have any quick comments on that one?
And again, they touched on it a little bit earlier, but a lot of men have a deep fear of intimacy that oftentimes goes all the way back to their relationship with their mom. Like a lot of men learned at an early age that connecting deeply with women creates pain for them. So they've got a wound, they've got trauma around intimacy with women. And so up until a certain point, they'll seem like they're completely normal, right? Up until a certain point, things are going great, things are good. And then you hit that level of intimacy. Maybe it's the first time they say, I love you, or maybe the first time y'all have, sex or unprotected sex, or it's like you hit some milestone or some intimacy threshold where they've got pain, where they've got wounds, or the first time maybe y'all have a fight. Whatever that triggering event is, it's going to cause them. And when they get triggered, when they feel that wound come up, they basically time warp back to that experience, back to their mom screaming at them, or their ex-girlfriend, storming out of the house or saying something mean to them, or whatever that situation was. All those emotions come up and they relive them again in real time. And then, they're going to shut down. They're going to back away from that pain, right? Because oftentimes they don't know where that pain is coming from. They don't understand that they're having a past trauma bubble up for them in that moment, right? They just know, oh my God, we're at this moment and now I'm feeling this way and I got to go, or I need to shut down. I need to protect that wound, So I hope that helps, illuminate for you sort of where that's based in. And one of the greatest things you can do in that moment, if you feel a man start to pull away, is to, in as warm and loving a way as you can, tell him like, hey, so I see that I can't help but notice, I feel like you've kind of been pulling away a little bit. And I'd love to know, I'd love to learn, what is it that you're experiencing right now? Like, how can I support you? Like, what can I do to help you right now? Because I felt you sort of shut down a little bit for me. And I really have loved the direction that our relationship has been going in. So what are you doing? What are you doing by responding that way? You're not taking it personally. You're being compassionate and understanding and supportive to him in that moment, rather than being like, why do you act like you don't love me anymore?
Love it. Yeah, so true. Gosh, that was amazing. I don't even know if I have anything to add to that. One of my lights just went out. We're coming up to the top of the hour. So do you mind if we just, I'm okay being half dark. It's okay with me.
Yeah.
Do you want to just keep answering questions? That was phenomenal. Thank you so much for that one. I'm losing my voice too. everything's just everything's going off the rails. Okay, we can just answer these ones pretty quickly. I think like how to, what to do if he doesn't want to lose me but doesn't want to commit to only me. In my opinion, keep your options open. Don't commit yourself to him if he doesn't want to commit himself to you, right? Matt,
well,
there.
if he doesn't want to lose you, but he doesn't want to have you, then he wants to keep you in a situationship, right? Which, I mean, if that's what you want, if you're cool with that, then, you know, roll with it. But it sounds like you're looking for monogamy, right? Like you're looking for a monogamous relationship. So, you know, if he wants to play by, if that's the game he wants to play, then you can either play it with him or you can say, you know what, like, I'm open to continuing to date you because I enjoy being with you, but I am going to see other people because at the end of the day, like I'm looking for a monogamous relationship. Like I'm looking for a commitment. And if you're not willing or able to give me that, then I'm not going to sit here and deny myself the opportunity to find what it is that I want. That wouldn't be fair to me.
Perfect. I think that's great. I think that's perfect. Love it. Don't have anything to add there, right? Love always says, since we're under lockdown, should I give my phone number to him? I would if I were you. I don't know who this person is, but if you're
I mean, yes, I think it's more appropriate now to give your phone number to him. I think it's also a great time to, you know, use video chat in a different way, like do Zoom, do, you know, WhatsApp chat. Like have a different that way, because I have heard stories from women where like they give a guy their number and then the guy ends up, you know, harassing them and it becomes a situation. Like, so I mean, I have heard of that happening. I obviously I love it when I can just trade numbers with somebody because I don't like the messaging on the dating apps. It drives me crazy. I'm not big.
Yeah, although now, you know, I've heard so many apps they have you can call and you know, video chat through the app itself.
Yeah, Bumble does that now. I know Bumble does that.
So, you know, maybe that's an option if you don't feel comfortable giving it out right away. I personally would do it if he seems like a nice guy, if you feel good with him.
You can always block him, right?
Exactly. Yeah. For the 180 people watching live, say hello, give us a like. We're coming up on the end of the hour. Both of my lights are now out, but I'm happy to be here with you guys. Hope you can still see me. Can you even still see me, Matt?
You're absolutely totally.
Okay. Let's see. Haven't seen my boyfriend in a week. He said it feels like we haven't seen each other in a week. How should I take that? I don't know about that. Do you understand that?
Exactly what he said. He said in a week. He says he hasn't seen you in a week. You should take it as it. He has a keen grasp of reality because that's exactly what he said.
What's the okay? I wouldn't.
I think she meant to say he feels like we haven't seen each other in a year or something.
Oh, got it.
That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping she meant.
It probably is something like that. No, yeah, you're right. Yeah,
I find that to be sweet. Like, if you've built a connection with somebody, and I mean, I know, you know, when with my last girlfriend, you know, like if more than 2-3 days, I'd be like, wow, it's been like 7 weeks since I've seen you, you know, like when it had been like 2-3 days, you know, and I meant it sweetly. Like I meant it as in that's how powerful time with you is, that not having you around for a couple days feels like a year. Like that's I think it's meant as a thing of flattery, not as a thing of codependence. So I would treat it as a compliment.
Yeah. What about this one from Deborah? Great question. A guy wants to be friends, but he keeps flirting with me. Depends on what you want. Are you happy to just be his friend, and you have zero attraction, zero interest? You're happy just to have a guy to flirt with right now?
Yeah.
If anything more than that, like if you're hoping to upgrade yourself into a girlfriend status from a friend, I would say you would want to go about it a different way. What are your thoughts there, Matt?
I think that any situation with a man can be an opportunity to practice polarity and practice, you know, the dance of the masculine and the feminine. So if you've got a guy who you're friends with and you guys enjoy flirting, then flirt, have fun, like just go back and forth, and it'll be great practice for when you do, you know, meet a man who is looking for a relationship and sees you as a good potential partner. Then you'll be able to use all those skills that you've been honing with him. So like, I mean, as long as you're cool with it and it's giving you value, then why not? Sort of, that's my take.
Yes. Trish says, knowing his relationship with mom and dad is so important. Yes, I'm sure you talk a lot about that in your course too, right?
Yes.
That was self-explanatory. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. I'm just scrolling through looking for questions because I know there were a couple more that we haven't answered. Here's one from Love Goddess. My ex-husband wants to call me and check in on me, but he doesn't want to be back with me. What do I do? Block him or keep talking to him? Actually, kind of similar to what we just said. What is it that you want? Do you want to get back together, or are you fine just, having a friendship with him? Because it seems like that's all he wants. Matt, what are your thoughts there?
I mean, I find a lot of times like a man, if he feels guilt around a breakup or guilt around ending a relationship, he'll want to maintain the connection with the woman, but in this way, right? Like he doesn't want to get back together, but he wants to keep demonstrating to her that he cares, because on some level he does, right? But he doesn't care enough to want to be in a relationship with you, and he feels a lot of guilt maybe around how things ended. So he's just going, and honestly, for you, you got to ask yourself, like, is this connection serving me? Is maintaining this dialogue serving me? Or is it triggering me and bothering me that this guy who I used to be with, right, that I used to be married to, like we're divorced, and he's just continuing to harp on me? Because here's the thing, if you're entertaining this man and he's occupying your time and your energy, and you're caught in this, like, well, what is he ever going to commit back to me? Is he doing this? And you're in that space. You're not giving yourself the space to meet anybody new.
Yeah.
You're not giving yourself the energy. You don't have the free bandwidth to call in another partner. So like, there's something to be said for that. Just like, you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're just entertaining your sort of guilt-ridden ex-husband at the expense of the kind of loving potential relationship that you're worthy of.
I like that. I think that's really good. Are you okay to take a couple more? I know we're over on time. Okay. How about this one from Ella? How do you turn a booty, I'm assuming she means booty call, into a relationship? Oh gosh. I mean, any thoughts there? I don't know if you're coming at it like that, I don't even know if it's possible. Turn a booty call into a
prefer a booty all to a booty call. Just all of it. Just give me all of it. That's so funny. Rather than a booty call. So how do you turn a booty call into a relationship? I mean, honestly, the numbers on that are pretty tough. Like once you've entered the booty call zone, which is what, like, it's like, hey, midnight, let's do this. And like, it's become transactional. To transition a relationship from transactional into like romantic and heartfelt is really tough, because men, we have categories that we put women in, like, and this is like, man, I'm giving away the man code here, but like when we meet a woman, generally based upon what she allows, right, in relationship, what she sort of the frame that she sets, we put a woman into a hookup category or relationship category. There are women that are wonderful to hook up with, maybe hang out with a little bit, and then there are women that I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna work for this. I'm gonna see if this can develop into like something real, right? And when you've already like entered the hookup category, and that's where you're at, it's very tough to transition, because the man has already created a set understanding of who you are and what the dynamics of your relationship with. The only way to even have an attempt at it would be to probably just be like, you know what, like this has been fun, but like I'm not really down with being a booty call anymore. If you want to take me out to dinner sometime, we can see what happens, but like that's the kind of, I'm looking to move more in that direction. And just make,
and of course, don't keep sleeping with him until he is on that same page, right? Don't give him all the relationship benefits. Why would he commit? Why would he change anything? He has everything here. He doesn't have to commit, and he gets all the benefits of being in a relationship without actually having to be in one. So make sure you're not giving him those benefits until he commits to what you want, or until he's open to that, right?
Exactly. Like you're gonna have to withhold that, from a space of valuing yourself and valuing your time if you want to give the possibility of a relationship.
Yes. Okay, here's another one from Red Rose. I had a man I haven't talked to in a long time. When he started talking again, he said, "Do you miss my face?" sent a pic of himself. Then he also sent me a shirtless pic. How to reply to that? Your face is classic. That's so funny. What do you? Sounds like or looks like you have something to say there.
It's just such a fuckboy move, you know. Then he sends a face pic, and then he also has to throw in the shirtless pic. Do you miss my face? Do you miss my pecs? How about the rest of me? You know the next pic you're gonna get right. It's gonna be the old dick pic. It's coming. He's just moving the camera down the body, like. So I mean, this guy, he's basically probing you for openness to see if you're down to hook up, really. Like, and I don't know if you two were sleeping together before, what the past history of the relationship is, but he probably texted you that. He probably also texted 4 or 5 other women that if he's been out dating. Like, he's basically like, well, I'm on quarantine, I'm bored, I'm horny, let's see what sort of stuff I can get stirred up right now, you know, like who can I like, he's running through his contact list, you know, like seeing what's up right now. So just know that that's what's most likely happening, and address it accordingly, whatever you're looking for.
Yeah, it depends on what you're looking for. She asked how to reply to that. Depends.
Yeah, you can reply to it. Nice pecs, come on over, if that's what you're looking for. If you're looking for some quarantine fun, you know, like that's on you. Like, I'm not here to judge.
Yeah. What if she's looking for something more than just a hookup? What would you?
That'd be like that. I'd probably say something to the effect of, "Well, maybe I missed your face a little bit, but I don't know that I needed to see the rest of you." You know, like why don't we keep it PG until, you know, we've had a conversation? Like, maybe
we should. Yeah, I feel like we should do a live stream where people just send in texts that men send, and you tell them how to respond.
I'll just shotgun text response for like an hour. I'm totally down. I'm really good at it. I love doing it.
I can tell you're like amazing at it. So that's like brilliant. I love how you said both of those responses. So good. Chelsea says, how do I do this after actually being together 16 years, then 2 years separated? He's come back around, but it's like completely starting over. How can I ask him questions about now? She also said they have 3 kids together.
Dang, that's big. Okay, so together for 16 years, 3 kids, then separated for 2 years, and now you've come back around. Now he's come back around, and it's not like completely starting over. It is completely starting over. And I don't think that has to be, you know, a bad thing. I think it's kind of fun for you two to hit the reset button and sort of rediscover like who you are now, right? Because 2 years have passed. You know, he's grown a lot. I don't know the circumstances behind why y'all split up or what happened, right? But now you have a chance to date again, right? You have a chance to court again. So look at it as, you know, you don't know this guy, like, and ask him questions from a space of curiosity, from a space of newness, and just be like, and ask. And I don't know. I think it's a fun opportunity, and you can treat it like a courtship, treat it like a new relationship, and just sort of see where. So when you say, how can I ask him questions about him now? How can I ask questions about him now? I would say ask from a space that you don't know who he is. And just
brand new man.
Yeah. Like, he's a brand new person, and just start there and see what unfolds, right? And I'm sure that's what he wants too, probably, like to let the past be the past and move forward.
A little counterintuitive, because I can imagine the tendency to want to bring up the past. And so I would suggest doing exactly what Matt said there. Peggy said, that's a great one, thumb arthritis. Stealing that one for sure. Trish said, I suggested a call with a man I met online. He reacted in a positive way. He called. He was surprised at first. I was a bit worried. I was leaning forward too much. All right, so you had a great response with that one. So happy to hear that.
Yes. It can be a lot of fun. Because like we don't talk, like people don't talk on the phone anymore, you know, like up until the quarantine. So it's another blessing of this whole crazy situation.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of that, here's one. She says, how to get a man to initiate a call, actually starting to open up in the right outlet, not texting. Great question. I think we talked a little bit about that before. I'm feeling a little burnt out on texting. Would feel great to match your photo with your voice, or it'd feel great to
the thumb arthritis. It'd be great to put a face with your voice. It'd be wonderful to it'd be fun to hear your voice, right? Like, because I'm imagining that when I'm reading your text, like right now you sound like Daffy Duck in my head, and I want to know like what your actual voice sounds like, you know, like I would just like give him some funny, playful teasing thing on You know, like, I don't know if I can meet up with a guy until I hear his voice. Because if you have a creepy voice, like, this is over before it started. You know, like I don't date guys with weird voices, so we're gonna need to do a phone call before we meet up, before this goes any further.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I heard great comment from Trist. You can initiate a call if you do it in a playful, feminine way. Then you don't have to always wait for the man. I agree with that.
100%.
Early stage in dating, he doesn't ask about me and my life as much, especially texting. Is that a warning sign? I think we talked about earlier how you don't want to get to know a man over texting anyway. So you might want to do what we just suggested and get on the phone with him, right?
Yeah, get on the phone with him. Get on the phone with him. Don't be frustrated that he's not asking deep questions over text message. It's actually a good thing. You don't want text to be the main form of y'all getting to know each other. It should be a tool to either establish dates, do a little flirting, and then just to like send funny memes and stuff. Don't make it the primary tool of your getting to know each other.
Yeah, great question from Cindy. Does a man like it when you text first before calling or FaceTiming, just to ask if he's busy, or is there another way to ask? Oh, great question, Matt. From your perspective, if a woman says, hey, I'm free after 7 o'clock this evening.
I think that in the early stages of dating, definitely like getting the call time established with some texting is important. Yeah, like if you're just blowing a dude's phone up and like he doesn't know that it's coming, or you haven't queued him up on it, he might construe it as a little aggressive. You know, people are like, why is this chick calling me? Like, we haven't discussed doing this. Because for better or for worse, right? Phone calls have become like this weird thing that people don't do as much anymore. So I think in the early stages of dating, it definitely is important to have it established. Like, hey, so do you mind if I hit you up? I'd love to hear your voice, right? Or how about we do a call right now, or later tonight when you're free or whatever. I think that's good. I think once you've been dating somebody for a little while, it doesn't matter. Once you've been dating somebody for a little while, you can call them, and it makes me happy. It's like a fun surprise if a girl that I'm dating calls me and we've been dating for a little while. So down the road, it's fine.
Here's one. What if when I ask questions, he says, not sure why I'm so interested to understand him. It's going to be of no use to me. I'd say that's a big red flag. That's a
shitty, mildly gaslighty, sort of deflecty response. That's like a narcissistic deflection, or like that's a big red flag. What he said there.
Totally. Yeah, just drop that guy.
Yeah.
Get rid of that guy. What if you ask a question, he stays silent? This has happened to her. Tess Lynn says.
Okay, so you ask him a question and he doesn't say anything. That's a great time for a follow-up question. So I can't help but notice that I asked you that question and then you didn't give me a response. Like, is there something like this? Is this bringing up something for you? Or is there a reason that, do you not feel comfortable responding? I think it's a great opportunity. I think silence is a great opportunity for a follow-up question. Like, what are you thinking about this?
Yeah, love it. Trish says, you taught me well, Matt and Helena. Yes, I keep putting your questions up on the screen because your comments, because you're like a total pro now. I love it. Here's one. What if he says you ask too many questions? Interesting one, Matt. Any thoughts there?
Yeah. I just can't get over the fact that we just had somebody join the call named Pornhub Premium. So
I haven't gotten that far down yet.
Down at the bottom, we just had somebody named Pornhub Premium put a plus. So I don't know if Pornhub is trying to like spam our show to get people to go over to Pornhub. Don't go over to Pornhub, y'all. Stay here and hang out with us. So random. What if he says you ask too many questions? If he says you ask too many questions, I mean, that's a really kind of, I don't know. It's a deflection. It's a guy who's got fear around intimacy. Pornhub says, thanks, love.
I can't see that for some reason.
It's not at the very bottom. It's not at the very bottom. So focus, Fox. So if he says you ask too many questions, I mean, I don't like that at all, because that's basically him going on the offensive, trying to gaslight you into feeling self-conscious about the fact that you're curious about who he is. You know what I'm saying? So look at where that resistance is coming from. Does he have a fear of intimacy? Does he have, are you maybe like interrogate? So it could be that he has a fear of intimacy. It could be that he's got a lot of issues around sharing who he is. And instead of going there with you, he's just putting it back on you and trying to gaslight you about it. That's one option. Another option might be that he's feeling interrogated by you. Maybe you're asking him like a ton of questions, like rapid fire, and it's overwhelming him. So like really take a step out of your feelings around it for a second and look at the situation objectively and ask yourself, you know, like, am I putting this guy through 20 questions while he's trying to like watch some rerun of sports, since there are no live sports right now, right? Or is he just got a defense mechanism around you know, intimacy, and he's just gaslighting you because of it? Yeah, Love Goddess says narcissist for sure. He's hiding something. Again, Love Goddess, we don't want to project. We don't want to project. I know it's easy, and I know that that's the first thing that came up for me when I read that question, is like, this guy's a narcissist. This guy's just trying to manipulate her, and it's very possible. Or it might be that, you know, he's just feeling a little overwhelmed, right? You always got to be open to things being different. And so that's, I had to give both sides of that.
Okay, good. Yes. Here we go. How do you create a safe space for a guy who is an avoidance style, gets edgy when intimate conversations come up, opens up after a couple drinks via text, literally runs away when in person? I mean, I know. Do you really want to spend your time and energy trying to crack the code with this man? I don't know. To me,
isn't that the same person that asked earlier about that other one where we were like, no, just abort mission with that guy? I think I knew Rao is the same.
Yes. Okay, yeah.
So again, I knew Rao, you want to get away from this guy.
Yes.
Like, this guy is clearly like an aggressive, avoidant attachment style man.
You don't want to be putting your energy into that, in my opinion.
It'll be an endless hamster wheel. Of you just trying to pull something out of him that he's either unwilling or unable to give you. So just don't waste your time. There's other men out there, I promise.
Totally agree. Love always. I don't believe we answered this one yet. What questions do you start with? Are there any questions that are kind of like fun openers, Matt, that someone can start out with?
Great question. I always like to bring it into the present moment and like ask a question about something having to do with them. Like a teasing question about, you know, I think I said earlier about his sweater. Like, so did you steal that sweater from Mr. Rogers, or where'd you pick that thing up? You know, like ask him a fun question about his hair. Like, wow, this is a really interesting restaurant. I think the last time I came here, you know, like, and tell him a little story. Like, ask him questions that are playful, that are light, that are grounded in the present moment, you know, and just start from there. Like, that way it sort of like takes the edge off. It helps him be able to drop in, laugh a little bit, and begin there. Don't ask anything big.
Something related to the present moment is awesome. I think that it's creating an experience together, right? Rather than like, that gets you in the moment rather than up in your head, right? How can you get a date with a guy when he doesn't ask you to hang out? Rosa asks.
He doesn't ask you to hang out. Well, I mean, there's a lot of other variables there. And I mean, I do this work with my clients. And if y'all join Mastery Connection, you can come and ask me these questions in office hours, and I'm happy to field them from you all day, every day. Click the link in the description to join Mastery Connection for free. We start April 13th. It's going to be an amazing journey. And
last time, free for the last time. So get in while you still can.
Yeah, this is the last time I'm going to be doing a beta before I go to a completely, you know, paid model, and it's a $2,000 course. So if you want to do Mastery Connection with us and hundreds and thousands of women from around the world, join up. We start April 13th. It's going to be an incredible experience. And how can you get a date with a guy when he doesn't ask you out? You can make an invitation to him non-verbally. And you're going to do that through a number of different things, right? Because a lot of times the man's not going to ask you out because he doesn't know that you're into him, that you're attracted to him, right? So how can you communicate attraction to him in a magnetic, inviting way, right? Eye contact is really important. Eye contact, making eye contact, deep eye contact, right? So that he can really feel your energy. Like eyes are one of the most powerful tools you have. Like, and then your smile in connection with your eyes, like making eye contact with a man and smiling at him in like a meaningful way, especially if you're just talking to him, is a really powerful way to help start to build that, that nonverbal understanding from him that you are attracted to him. And then your body language, right? Be open body to him. Be open to him. Be present with him. Like everything in your body can be an invitation to him. And then you can see, and then just see how he responds to that. Is a great place to start.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I've been getting so many questions about people who work with a man, then they want to
or if you want to hack the whole thing, just tell his friends that you like him and let his friends do the work for him.
So good. Oh my God, that's hilarious. Okay, what about this one? I'm in a long distance relationship. My man barely calls me 2 or 3 times a week. He loves me, misses me. He's only focused on our future plans to get married, not on my current needs. Should I be okay with this? Interesting question.
It's a tough situation, and I get it. Like, it's a tough situation. It sounds like you two have an agenda. So you two have a plan to get married. Is there a specific date for this? Is there a specific framework for this? I mean, long distance relationships only work if there is a set, agreed upon end to the long distance relationship. So it sounds like if y'all are planning on getting married, that you do have an end point in place.
Yeah.
So if you're already anchored in an end point, then I think that, the next question gets to be like, are you okay? Now, there's no should. Should doesn't exist, right? Like, if you're not feeling good about this, if you're feeling starved energetically from him or attention wise from him, then you can share that with him. You can share that with him and be like, hey, I'd love to hear from you a little more often. Let him know your needs. Like for me to be happy in relationship or for me to feel fulfilled, like I want to hear from you, just once a day. Doesn't have to be a long call, but just a little daily chat, because your energy feels so good to me. Like, continue grounded.
Have you asked him? Have you told him what your current needs are, or are you just kind of hoping that he figures it out? So
men are not mind readers.
Right.
We're not mind readers. We don't know, especially if we've got a lot of stuff on the plate.
Yeah, it would feel good to hear your voice, just about every day, or it feel good to talk about, some things that are going on in our current lives, not just the future. Don't be afraid to do that, right? Because he might have no idea. Rebecca says, I texted him this morning if he had any free time this weekend for a phone date. He hasn't responded. Should I send a follow-up? And if so, what should I say? I think I wouldn't send a follow-up personally. Matt, what do you think?
Nope. Also, it's late. It's already Friday. So, or for a phone date. Okay. Yeah, no, I think that, it's the ball's in his court now to respond. And I think to just releasing your attachment and expectation around the thing and just see what he does. Eventually he'll probably respond with something, and just let him do that on his own timeline now.
Yeah. Are you okay for a couple more quick questions? Yeah. We're coming to an hour and a half. This is like longest live stream ever. This is awesome. I'm so glad you guys are into this topic. How many little flirty conversations per day are appropriate for text? What do you think, Matt?
I mean, that's pretty subjective based upon the situation with your guy, how long you've been dating him, what the situation is. You can sort of casually flirt, I think, intermittently throughout the day, depending upon where you're at, because that sort of creates that sort of percolating, sort of flirtatious intention, and so I think maybe 4 or 5 is safe, 4 or 5 little exchanges, just don't let it get into sexting if it's early stage dating, because it's easy for flirtatious texting to sort of escalate, especially if you keep responding to him a lot. So you also want to be able to sort of deflect and pace flirtatious texting so it doesn't get out of hand.
Yes. Oh, thank you for the super chat, Dina Ashley. I didn't even know that was still a possibility.
Did Dina Ashley send you money?
Yeah, it looks like it. I didn't even know that was possible.
You better be splitting that $2 with me. That's $1. I'll send you my Venmo.
I'll Venmo you right as soon as we're done.
We're making money, baby. Woo!
Oh my gosh, so funny. Tris says, ha ha ha, wow, that's such a compliment. Thank you so much. You all have changed my life for sure. Oh my gosh, so happy to hear that. Oh my, that's totally makes our day. That's why we love doing this with you guys. I'm just looking for any.
Adriana had a good, Adriana Mernjavak said, how to make a move on a friend.
I see it right there. I was going to
Yeah.
ask you about that. Yeah. What are your thoughts there?
Adriana. So you want to make a move on a friend. So you want to transition the relationship from friendship into not friendship. Okay. So, I mean, it's not complicated. I mean, it's generally pretty easy, but before you do that, I want you to ask yourself, like, are you willing to lose the friendship? Because like once you cross that threshold, once you cross that boundary and take a platonic friendship, especially if you're initiating it and initiated into a romantic relationship or a sexual relationship, it's unlikely that y'all ever be able to pull that back in, like in a lasting way. Like it's very difficult to go from friends to dating or hooking up and then going back to like a completely balanced normal friendship. So first off, ask yourself that question, and then I mean honestly, like if you got feelings for a guy and you feel like sexual chemistry with him or whatever sort of attraction with him, one of the easiest ways to do that is just to lead with vulnerability and just be like, hey, so I got a secret. You want to hear it? You know what I'm saying? And then he'll be like, of course, yeah. And then just be like, I kind of got a thing for you. Or, I just like something like that. And he'll be like, oh, really? And then see where it goes, and chances are like once you rather than, you pin him against a wall and make out with him, like, but you can share something vulnerable with him, and that's going to basically be throwing him the ball and inviting him to initiate the physical contact with you, and then just see what he does. And that in his response to you, you will know where he's at with it. And if he's in.
I love your answer to that. I'm so glad we did that one. Yeah. Let's see. Michelle asked, are you doing live chats every Friday? My next one is Monday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern with Alex Cormont. I just published a video with him a couple days ago. It's doing phenomenal. Go check that out. And the next one after that, I believe, is Friday, April 10th with Mike Goldstein, which I believe that's 7 p.m. Eastern time. So those are my next two. I can try and post that somewhere. If you guys would like more, just let me know.
Me and Helena can do a Friday live.
Friday, I would love that. We got nothing but time right now, right?
Yeah.
You want to take one more? I know we're coming up at 20 minutes. Okay, one more from Gloria. My ex and I had an intimate moment about 2 weeks ago. He's been hot and cold, taking days to text back. I'm thinking about not responding when he texts me so I can regain my confidence. Okay, right off the top of my head, if you're doing some tactic to try to get some result from him, I'd say you're going about it in the wrong way. But Matt, I'd love to hear all your thoughts on that.
I'm the same. Okay, so you dated, you broke up, it's an ex, you had a little ex hookup, a little ex relapse. It happens, right? There's nothing wrong with that. So he's been hot and cold since then, not texting you back immediately. The question is, like, does he have to do that? Like, I would look at your expectation, your expectation. Okay, well, because we slept together, or we kissed, now I've created an expectation that, we're going back into relationship, or like now he needs to hit me up. He needs to hit me back right away. Like look at that expectation, because that's what's creating the issue here. The issue isn't that, he's delaying the responding. The issue is you've created a sense of responsibility that he should be responding to you quickly because y'all had an intimate moment. You know what I'm saying? So I would start off by, letting go of that expectation, because he really doesn't owe you anything, right now. Like y'all had a moment. You know what I'm saying? And then look at, are you looking to try to reestablish relationship with this guy? Because if so, that's a whole nother bag of nuts. That's like a whole different situation. But I wouldn't delay or ghost him or not respond or leave him on read or whatever after he texts you back, because then you're playing into, a sort of strategic maneuvering situation. And maybe that's what he's doing. And maybe that's what he's not. But you don't want to play that game with them, because that's not going to build intimacy with a man.
Love it. Yes, I couldn't have said it better myself. That was amazing. Adriana likes your response to how to make a move on a friend. Love it. I think we should do, would you guys want a live stream where just bring all your text messages from guys and Matt will tell you what to say? Wouldn't that be
what to text a guy? Yeah.
I think that'd be so fun. Okay.
Adriana, I want to hear how that goes. So you need to
come back and let us know.
Update.
And if for some reason I think I really tried to get to all of them. If I missed, they start disappearing at the top. So if we missed them, we're about to close this out. Leave them in the comments down below. I need more videos on loving myself. Oh, Ramona, I have a great one I'm going to be posting soon. So stay tuned for that. Mindy asks, how does one know if they're truly ready to be in a relationship? I said the last one was our last question, but I love this one so much. I want to just, maybe we'll just end with this one. What do you have to say to Mindy?
I would say, Mindy, you're truly ready to be in a relationship when you want it, you don't need it. You know, when it's not a need, when you're not in this relationship, when you're not like craving a relationship from a space of like, I need this to be happy. I need this to complete me, to fill this void. I need this to heal the wounds of my past. When you're able to be in a relationship, you're like, I want to be in a relationship because I'm excited about the life that we could create together. I want to be in a relationship because I've done the work. I've learned from my past relationships and I'm ready to take the next step with a meaningful partner, right? When you're able to come from a grounded, excited space of wanting it rather than, you know, that urgent sort of like scarcity space of needing it, that's when you're ready. And it all comes back to you, which is that's why I do my first course, the course that y'all are getting beta access to, Mastery of Connection. It is a course around doing the inner work so that you can be an incredible partner in relationship. Like we do belief work, we do attachment style work, we do love language and personality type work. Right. And once you understand those components of who you are, you're able to work on them so that you can come into alignment with the relationship that you're worthy of. But if you don't do the inner work first, you're going to keep being in relationship with people that are not ready to be in relationship. So
great. Yeah, Mindy, definitely go apply to join Matt's course for free as a beta tester. The link's in the description right now. I think that would be perfect for you. Even if you're not quite sure, maybe you're recently single or you've, maybe been single for a long time. You're not sure if you're ready. She says, I'm ready then.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. I love that. Okay, looks like Gina, I would love more. This is fun. Tris and Suze want to do the Mat Shaffer tells you how to text a guy back. I love that.
Let's do it. Let's do a whole live on it.
Okay, that was it. I think that'd be so much fun. Elda said she just signed up for the course.
Right,
awesome. I love it. And yeah, I mean, we're way over 90 minutes. We're so over on time. This was so much fun. If we somehow missed your question, I'm going to close this out, add it to the comments, and maybe everyone can help each other out. Or Matt, if you want to go through, if you have an extra minute or two, we could, maybe Matt is so great about answering all your questions soon. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. This was the longest live stream I think I've ever done.
Yay.
Awesome. Thank you guys for all your sweet comments. Arsenio, everybody, you guys are amazing. We love you so much. Like about 200 people stayed all the way till the end. So this was so much fun. Have a great weekend. Don't forget to sign up for Matt's course. I'll add it to the comment section too. Totally free for the last time. So you're going to get huge value. You're going to connect to Matt, all the time during his office hours, get your personal questions answered. Any last words before we close out today, Matt?
I would say that, I want you to really coming out of this live, right? Coming out of this live, I want you to really start looking at questions as powerful tools. As powerful tools that you can use to create the sort of connection in your life that you want. Are you asking deep, meaningful questions? Are you using questions with intentionality? Or are questions just this default obligatory thing you think you have to do? Are questions uncomfortable for you? Because if you're not willing to ask deep, meaningful questions, if you're not willing to go there in relationship, then you're depriving yourself of the sort of intimacy that you're worthy of. And don't expect a man to drop in and be vulnerable with you unless you're willing to ask him the questions that are going to invite him to go there. So that's really like the biggest thing I want you to look at coming out of this live.
Okay, love it. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for doing most of the talking as I'm still sick and having some microphone issues. But this was amazing. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, and we will we'll figure out time to get together with you all again soon and do another live. This is like one of our favorite things in the world to do. So check out Matt's course, Master Your Connection. You're so welcome, everyone. If we somehow missed your question, it was just because I didn't see it. It probably disappeared too quickly up at the top. So just add it to the comment section down below once this is over, and Matt and I will go through and answer as many as we can. So we love you guys. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Bye, ladies. See you soon. Bye-bye.